Now there's a big reason if you look at my channel, you won't find much content on the back bridge. I'm a typical 47-year-old with a weight training background. Posturally, my body likes this position. So becoming good at an overhead position for handstands has taken a long time, but because of my passion for handstand and wanting to train it on a daily basis, I've ended up with a good straight line, but the back bridge position is still very challenging for me. Let's just do a simple test to show you how limited my range is, and this is something you can try as well and compare yourself to my range. So this is a 30-inch box. I haven't done any warm-up, so I'm cold. I'm going to see if I can take my head backwards to that double yoga block, which I can. Let's take one of these away. That's it. I have to lift my heels. Can't even find that block. Yep, no, that's it. So 30-inch box plus the yoga block. I'm strong in a push-in position, which means I have tight pecs, I have tight lats, and naturally I can't go back in towards that back extension position. But over the last 10 years, I do explore the position. So I've played with the different exercises that would lead you to the back bridge, and I've coached people towards the back bridge. So today I'm going to take you through those beginner exercises, progressively make them harder towards the back bridge, show you how I would train the back bridge. I'm going to take that flexibility we gained today and play and explore the hollow back handstand, the Mexican handstand, to the hollow handstand push up, and I'm training handstand push ups today for my strength work. And I'm going to finish with the cool skill, the rolling floor handstand push up. So we're going to start off with the lower intensity movements to open us up towards that back bridge position. Now, if you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, we do need to be a little bit more careful with our spine. So go easy, make sure you can hold a conversation when you're doing these movements. So we're just going to explore and have a roll in that position, mainly focusing on where the ribs are. So that's the bit, our thoracic spine, where we tend to get stuck in that flexed position. And like I said a minute ago, there is the pecs and the lats that also pull us down into that position. So I'll show you a couple of stretches to open them up as well. If the rolling does feel okay, you can make it a little bit harder by extending the arms above your head. And if you are naturally more flexible in these positions, or more flexible in general in these positions, just jump ahead on the video and go to the harder progressions and into the handstand work. Okay, then for the pec stretch, I'm going to lay on the floor in a scarecrow position, so arms out to the side. I'm going to bend one side, keep the other side straight, so that arm's straight. I'll push my shoulder hard into the floor, and then I'm going to turn my head, turn my body, while still maintaining that push of the shoulder into the floor as hard as I can. I don't want that shoulder to lift up. I want to make sure that's maintaining contact in there, and I'm pushing it away. I'm going to hold there 20, 30 seconds and then do the same thing on the other side. So again, maintaining straight arm, making sure the shoulder's pushed hard into the floor, and then rotate over, push away. That's super tight. And there's a few different ways we can stretch our lats, but I'm going to do this one on a ring. So I'm going to hold onto the ring there. If I'm doing the right hand side, I'm going to take the right foot behind me, and then I'm just going to hang down in that position. So just draping down. Now you should feel that underneath the armpit there. And I can rotate around to feel it differently and just hang in that position. You can change the height of the ring as well, which will increase the amount of weight that's pulling down. This is relatively easy because I've got the ankle point quite high. Same thing, 30, 45 seconds, swap sides. So I'm going to do that left side now. I need to take my left foot behind me, keep that straight, and then sink down into that position. Find the good stretch, hang there, 30 seconds, 45 seconds in that position. And you can tell it's working because one eye's squinting. And then a step up on the rolling, or an alternative, depends on how you feel these ones, is just a standard passive hang. I've mentioned this a lot in my videos. So just hanging in that position. If it feels okay, do that one. If there's any pain in the shoulders, you can go up into an active position, but ideally passive position, lengthening as much as you can. If it's very hard, tippy toes on the floor, but aiming for around 60 seconds in this position. Next we have thoracic extension, similar to the foam roller, but this one's just a little bit more aggressive. So do be careful with this. There's lots of different variations in terms of what we use. The easier version for most people is going to be to use the foam roller again, mid-thoracic position, keeping the knees bent, making sure we're not arching through the low back. And then I'm just taking my hands backwards. So just hang in this position. So I'm encouraging movement where the roller is. Just be careful you don't arch through the low back, or you don't compensate the neck too much. If you can hold on to an anchor. So this is going to wind it up a little bit more by having my hands anchored down. And now I can really pull down by going into a posterior tilt. So tucking the pelvis under. So I'm tipping under like that at the same time as pulling my arms down. So it's putting lots of pressure on where the roller is. Now I can wind that up even more as long as I can keep that posterior tilt by straightening the legs, and or I can raise the roller. So what I could do is I could put something underneath the roller to progressively make that higher, so it's increasing that curve. We can do the same thing with these yoga wheels. This one's smaller, so it's not going to be as intense as the higher one from a distance point of view, but set up exactly the same way. Oh, got to make sure I'm lined up with the post. Hold on to the anchor, take the butt down towards the floor. Now you can tell by my voice that this one's a little bit more aggressive on the way I've got it set up. But if it's too much, I could let go, spread the hands a bit wider. So for me, in that position, it's going to be challenging. I can do it to straighten the legs. But because it's not dumping in my low back, and I know I can push my thoracic quite hard because I've done it previously, I'm happy to go with something like that. But like I said earlier, be careful, especially if you're not conditioned to these. I can do the same using the yoga block, so mid-thoracic. Use a harder yoga block, don't use one of the soft ones in this position, so one of the cork ones is good. Hanging over that position there, I can hold on to the anchor again, I can extend the legs, making sure you got that posterior tilt. I can raise the yoga block up onto its end, I can make it easier by putting it flat. So lots of variations with the thoracic extension. You can go over the edge of a box, and unless you're crazy, I'd use some sort of softish mat on there, so it's still quite a sharp angle, but it's not a sharp surface. Holding on. And then with this one, you can drop the hips down. Now I'm holding onto a single post. Ideally, it would be a bar, so I could space the hands out shoulder width apart. But then I can either do repetitions or hold in that position. And if I just adjust where my back is on the box, it's going to hit a different part of the spine. But I would mainly aim for that mid-thoracic area. And then from the thoracic extension, we'll move into the back bridge work. Now with the back bridge, we need to make sure that we also open up the hip flexors just before we do that. So I'd recommend you do a stretch that opens up the front of the pelvis here, because we need that when we're going to open up towards that back bridge position. So either doing it like this, you can also extend either doing it like this, or you can bend the knee, bring the heel to the butt. Now this is going to work more quad, so more mid thigh and less hip flexor, but the one that crosses the knee also crosses the hip. So while we're doing that, we can push forwards, trying to open up as much as you can. Again, make sure this doesn't dump into your low back, but if you can, push this one quite hard to make sure there's no closing of this area. We want it to open up as much as possible, and then obviously doing the same thing on the other leg as well, so exactly the same. You might find right side is a bit tighter than the left, which is normal. Now when it comes to the back bridge itself, if you're like me and tight, we probably don't want to be doing this. So we don't want to be going onto our backs, going up into this position, placing our head on the floor, get our hands in position, and then push up. So if we look now where my shoulders are relative to my hands, see how my arms aren't straight and my shoulders aren't on top of my hands. This isn't how we want to stretch the back bridge, because what that's doing is it's going to make us compensate everywhere else and not actually open us up where we want to be opened up. We want to be focusing on a position where we can get the shoulders directly on top of the hands. So to do that, I'm going to have to elevate my feet very high. That's going to allow me to open up the thoracic and get those shoulders in the right place. Now I could lay down on the floor and try and push up into that position, but it's going to be very, very challenging to do that from a strength point of view. It's like an upside down handstand push up. Probably not going to get in the nicest, cleanest position trying to push up from the bottom in that bent arm position. So the other way of doing it is to go in from a handstand. Now, which sounds crazy, but if you're working and training calisthenics, kicking up into the wall should be doable. So first get comfortable with that kick up to the wall with your hands far enough out so you're not going to hit the box. So once I'm comfortable with that, I'm then going to move in. I obviously have to watch this bar here, but I move in enough so I can find the wall there. So that should be pretty comfortable for most people to kick up into that position. Then I'm going to take 1 foot down, 2 feet down, try and find the box. And now video from the side and make sure your shoulders are on top of your hands. And if they are, this is where we want to be hanging out for our back bridge position or our back bridge training. So 30 seconds in this position would be ideal, pushing up and away all the time. And then coming back out with control the way you came. And then all we do is decrease the height of that box, do exactly the same thing until we find a position that's challenging, still keeps that shoulders just on top of the hands, but we can do the repetitions there, and then over time it's going to get lower and lower. We could do push up type movements here. So I'm going up and down there, which is a really good strength way of pushing up and into that thoracic extension. But obviously there's a prerequisite there that you need to be comfortable on your hands to bend the arms and go into that position and have the strength to push back out. Now the cool thing is, doing that drill that we was just doing on the box is like bridging the gap, pardon the pun, between the back bridge and the hollow back handstand. So having the ability to kick over, touch the toes to the box, pull back off again is the main drill I use to teach this skill. So to play with the handstand side a little bit more, I've raised the box up even higher. I'm going to use that same entry. So I'm going to use the wall, kicking up, touching, walking back down. So now the box is higher, I should be more comfortable to play around here. Now notice what I'm doing here with my upper back and shoulders. I'm moving it away past the hands now to the point where there's lots of weight in my hands, and ideally my feet are going to become light there. Now if it doesn't happen, then I could raise this up a little bit higher, so I can stick something on there like a yoga block. This mat works really well because it's a bigger surface area, but I do the same thing, kicking up, finding the surface, and then from there I'm looking down towards the hands, pushing up and away, and then try and extend up to my handstand. Now if you have a freestanding handstand, awesome, you can try playing with that, and then if you can, going back down, kissing the box lightly, coming back up, and then all we do is decrease the height of the box, find it, the same as before, try and pull off it, try and pull off it to handstand, and then if you can, from the freestanding back, try and touch the box and come back up again. That's maxing me out without warming up a lot more. And then if you're a bit more comfortable with the freestanding handstand, you can play with that same positioning, opening the shoulders up, extending the legs away from you and down towards that extension as much as possible, and then pulling back to your handstand. So then you're working the freestanding Mexican or hollow back handstand. And then that takes us nicely into the next step, which is the hollow handstand push-up. Now the hollow handstand push-up could be like we just done, so more of a Mexican type position, but it's more than likely going to be more of a scorpion handstand push-up, which is still that hollow body position, but it just means the head and shoulders come back through towards the feet. And you will see a lot of contortionists, a lot of circus formers using the hollow back handstand push-up. It looks super impressive, but it actually makes the handstand push-up a little bit easier. So it's a really good one for doing on stage or when you're performing, because it doesn't use up as much energy as a strict straighter position, because you can roll in and out of it. I'll show you what I mean with the limited flexibility I have. So instead of being in so much of a hollow position, taking the shoulders through, I'm going to keep the shoulders in this position. Now if I was super flexy, which I'm not, my toes would be on my head in this scorpion-like position, but now when I do a handstand push-up, I can take the head towards the floor. When I come back up, I take the feet over and it scoops me up. So there, scooping me up. My cap's actually stopping me, but you get the idea that I'm rolling down, rolling back up. So the feet, when you come back up, helps you to go towards that overbalance, pulls you out of that bottom position. So if we try again without the cap, so back into that more scorpion-like position, coming down, chin towards the floor, and then when I push back up, the feet go over me to my extended position and help me out. So the more flexible you are, the more you get that rolling technique, which then leads us into the rolling floor handstand push-up. So a good way to understand the movement and also train it is to do eccentrics. So we do exactly the same as we've done before. So start in that scorpion-like position, and then I'm going to scoop down, take the head and shoulders forwards further, roll to here, and then to go back up. Exactly the same thing. Didn't quite get the catch right there, so I had to use a bit more strength, but you roll back up again. So you're rolling down, scooping back up, taking the hips and the feet over towards overbalance. Now, depending on what floor you're using, whether you're male or a female, you'll need to roll more onto the side, onto the hip, and less on the center. So just practice that rolling and scooping and lifting up a little bit like that. And then you can just scoop the legs up more and get higher and push at the same time. Now, if you notice what I was doing there, I was making a mistake. As I was rolling back this way with my center of mass. So I was moving past my hands back that way and making myself heavier. If I can stay further that way as I roll, it's going to be easier to go up and over towards handstand. So remember, we want to roll up towards overbalance, not back towards underbalance. The more we go back towards underbalance, the heavier your body's going to be. So I'll do another couple of rolls now, but instead of going back this way, I'm going to go this way, and I should be able to then get up to handstand. See the difference? So I was rolling up that way instead of that way. Now, back bridge is like any skill. The more you like it, the more you're passionate about it, the more you're going to practice it. So I personally am not a big fan of it. It doesn't come natural to me. So I hardly ever train it unless I'm going to do something like this and play with those rolling handstand push-ups. I will be adding a program for this back bridge handstand push-up Mexican type movements in my app. Link is down in the description if you're interested in that. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Likes and comments do really help the channel out, so that would be appreciated. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.